Welcome. I am Sister Who. When I first began climbing mountains, I ran into some new experiences and new terms, things that didn't exist where I grew up. Things like trailhead. Well, that's where the trail starts. The summit obviously is the top of the mountain. A switchback was someplace where the trail was going one direction and would make a very abrupt change, a very tight turn, and be going the opposite direction. So on some of the steeper mountainside, switchbacks would go back and forth up the side of the mountain because it was much easier to walk at an angle sloping up than to try to walk directly up the steepness of the slope. One of the other terms I became acquainted with was the term of false summit. I suppose this is kind of like parents going on a long trip in the car with a couple kids in the back seat who, after about half an hour or so, or maybe less, depending on the particular children, begin to ask, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" And similarly, when I was doing, the first time I ever hiked up a mountain, it was 3 hours hiking from the trailhead to the summit of the mountain. And I had never lived anywhere before where you could actually be walking upwards for 3 hours and not get to the top of something. There was just nothing that was that long from the bottom to the top. Well, as I tried this mountain and that mountain, hiking various mountains, and they were all interesting in their own way, wonderful places to visit. But partway into it, that inner child, I suppose, would begin to ask, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Now are we there?" And so I would look ahead and see if I could see where the trail went up the side of the mountain and figure, "Oh, that's the summit right there. Well, that's not so far away. I should be there in an hour." And then I would get to that point only to discover that that was what was called a false summit. Something that looked like the summit from lower on the trail, but when you got there, actually wasn't the summit at all. It was just a rock outcropping that blocked your view of what was beyond it. And from there, you could look up and find the next highest point where the trail kind of led. And, oh, that's the summit. Sometimes I would get to that point, and once again, it was another false summit. There's the real summit right there. Now I know that has to be the real one. And I would hike to that point, and there would still be more trail going a little bit higher yet. False summits upon false summits. And so as I was pondering how that was kind of a metaphor for life, how many times we think we've accomplished something, we've arrived. Now I've done it. Ta-da, I'm there. And as soon as we get to that point, discovering that there's even more yet to do. That what we thought was the summit was just a high point, a rock outcropping, a bluff, something that blocked our view of what was beyond it, but that there was in fact more beyond it. And that applies to so many different questions. What is life all about? Well, I think it's about this until I get to that point, and then I discover that it's about something even higher and even bigger and even more beautiful when I get there. And so I hike to that point and discover that the trail hasn't ended yet. I'm still not at the summit. There's still more. And so I began composing a song about this, how so many things in life are like these false summits, that we get there and, ooh, there's even more. And we set a goal and we're going to accomplish it, and we get to the goal and find out that it's not a destination at all, it's just another point along the journey. So I wanted to share this song with you today. So put on your imaginary hiking shoes and let's get started and see what we discover, and just how high is this mountain anyway? The sun not yet risen, I started the trail. Through forest on tundra, over stones I prevailed. Hours passed slowly, the air became thin. At the top of a ridge, it all started again. For the mountain is bigger than ever I've dreamed. Much higher and steeper than at first it seemed. So I'm finding my way to a place so high, putting wings on my spirit and learning to fly. I let out the sail and it caught the first breeze. I sped through the waves with the greatest of ease, racing a dolphin, admiring a whale, seeing such wonders as makes all words fail. For the ocean is bigger than ever I've dreamed, much wider and deeper than at first it seemed. So I'm finding my way to perceive what's below, in the vast world of waters, unending flow. I let out the string and my kite upward flew. In moments it nearly had faded from view, though I felt the tug on my fingers so small. Straining my eyes didn't help me at all, for the sky is much bigger than ever I've dreamed. So open and endless, much more than it seemed. So I'm finding my way to a world without walls, a world full of spaces so wide and